Are you okay? Do you have something you're dealing with? Do you need to travel to a pocket dimension to work through them? Well, do I have the show for you. May I offer you something called Infinity Train, commonly labeled the best sci-fi series that no one is watching. Well, more so now that HBO Max has wiped it from the face of the earth for whatever corporate tax-benefiting reasons from the higher-ups. The series focuses on a group of characters in every season, some already established, some not, and each season addresses different topics such as divorce, grief, prejudice, personal identity, trauma, and so much more. It's a visual cacophony of abstract imagery and manifestations of internal problems that inherently sets the sturdy pillars for the many heavy stories to come. I'll admit that I was late getting into the show. After hearing about how great it was by so many people, I decided to check it out, and I must say, this show beautifully balances this line of fun and cool sci-fi elements, but it's all held together by the heart of the show, the writing and the characters. I found myself immediately entranced by what the show had to offer, so today, let's take a look at Infinity Train.
Well, good luck to you.
Now a word from our sponsor.
Thank you to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring today's video. Surfshark VPN is a virtual private network that helps you secure your digital life, in turn helping your real life by putting your worries at ease. Surfshark offers one of the best full coverage VPN packages out there with an unlimited number of devices that can all run under one subscription, all at the same time. Seriously, as many devices as you want. The Surfshark app itself is available on all platforms, PC, Mac, and of course the Linux users out there, you're covered as well. Even smart TVs and video game consoles, all along with 24/7 live customer support and a full 30-day money-back guarantee to make sure you know it's completely risk-free by giving them a shot, as well as one of the best security measures with their strictly no-logs policy, which encrypts your data, meaning that they do not keep any of it, nor does anyone know what you're doing online. Want to watch something that isn't streaming in your country? And no worries, just connect to any of the servers Surfshark has around the world and boom, you can access streaming libraries of even more content that otherwise would not be available in your country. It's fast and it's easy to use, filled with features that go beyond just the basics with a regular VPN. If you want to protect yourself online as well as help support the channel, you can get Surfshark VPN at surfshark.deal/JordanFringe and enter promo code JordanFringe for 85% off as well as an extra 3 months for free. So click the link down below in the description and get protected today. The setting for the show is wholly unique and is a character of its own, the train itself being the literal on-the-nose vessel for each character we focus on's story, of their own personal circumstances that they're conflicted with, whether that be soul-searching for yourself or finding the understanding to what led you here to the train in the first place. It really boils down to self-acceptance, from the characters we meet and follow throughout each series of the show, as well as the main antagonist of the show. Characters are written more intricately, like how a real person isn't just good or bad, they aren't just one thing or the other. There's a level of nuance that helps define these characters and the reasons they go about their journeys, or why they do or have done the actions they've committed. The point of this metaphorical train, and I guess actual train as we see it represented, is that it is meant for you to work things out, not the solution to your personal issues. There's a reason why once you do figure things out and the number on your hand that binds you to not leaving the train fully hits 0, that a door leading back to your home appears. It's your stop. The train is the journey you take from the start of your self-realizations to where and who you are after once you reach your destination. Sure, it's a little on the nose about what the train represents, but just like most things in life, it's about the journey, not the destination. And Infinity Train is able to beautifully capture true feelings, emotions, and sentiments that you can resonate with, while being able to relate to anyone. The show doesn't skew the writing to accommodate for younger demographics. While any age can enjoy the show, it was made story first and easily gained an older audience because of its writing and themes. Now, let's take a look at the different books or seasons of the show, who and what they were focused on.
No one knows.
Each season of the show would be its own new journey within the train, new stories, new characters, new personal dealings to work out. Book 1, The Perennial Child, focuses on the story of Tulip, who introduces us to the world within the Infinity Train. She's a young game designer who is struggling with dealing with the reality of her parents' recent separation. Leading separate lives, there's a lot of kinks that need to be ironed out, so naturally both of her parents' schedules are unable to accommodate driving her to a game design camp a few hundred miles away. Her sense of reason is overcome by frustration frustration and determination, so she decides that she's just going to walk herself to camp. She doesn't get very far before she runs into a train that's course blocks her path in the middle of the forest. She then wakes up in an unfamiliar place, as well as having an ominous glowing green number on her palm. She quickly befriends a robot and names him 1-1, who is two robots together in one. Sad One and Glad One together have to make sense of the strange world and how to get home. Using her game design skills, she's able to figure her way out of the unfamiliar place, to discover that she was just on one train car, and running off the train results in, well, death. After some trial and error and making lots of friends and a few enemies along the way with the inhabitants of each pocket dimension train car, she is able to grow and work through her problems, which reflects in the number on her hand going down. When her number reaches 0, she is granted a special door back home, having completed the task of some sort of personal breakthrough. Of course, it's not that straightforward. Season 1 offers a lot of twists and turns and ups and downs. We learn that 1-1 was the original conductor of the Infinity Train, that was created in good conscience as a way to help people who are struggling in their lives. But a grief-stricken woman takes over the train and is trying to figure out how to manipulate the train car dimensions to create a world where her deceased lover exists. Tulip, 1-1, and our fave corgi king, Atticus, must work together to not only defeat the false conductor Amelia, but also help her reverse the damage that she has done so that she may grow and learn how to deal with her grief healthily. Book 2, Cracked Reflection, focuses on a different main character. In the first season's episode, The Chrome Car, we meet Tulip's reflection, who initially tricks her into swapping places with her so that Mirror Tulip can be her own person in the real world. They both escape and exist in the real world, parting ways, but not before the Reflection Police, who are able to physically manifest in an effort to track Mirror Tulip, or MT, and drag her back to where she's supposed to be. Creator Owen Dennis says that he didn't want to make the transition from season 1 to season 2 too jarring for fans of the series that had grown to love Tulip, so he chose to tell the story of another character that was established in the first season, who inherently is not Tulip herself, but comes from her. MT is quick to change her appearance and be her own person, both as a method of independent expression, but also so that she isn't recognized as a wanted fugitive on the train. She meets lovable and wholesome jock figure Jesse, and while he's open to making friends, she is initially abrasive and closed off. He accommodates her due to them having made a mutual friend in the form of an omnipotent deer, the friend of a friend concept. Soon after, Jesse learns who MT really is, and decides to help her in trying to get off the Infinity Train. To do so, she must obtain a number so that she can get it down to 0, and be permitted entry into the real world, while also helping Jesse work through his personal issues involving his brother. The two of them go on adventures that draw them closer together, they meet 1-1, and evade the police even more. Book 3, Cult of the Conductor, is one of my favorites, centering around the social implications of dropping people in a dimension without instruction, because not everyone would assume you need to get your number to 0. Grace and Simon are our main protagonists. We had met them briefly in the second season as they run a group of kids called the Apex, who have taken over and made their permanent home inside of a mall cart. They run a society, basically, where rank is determined by how high your number goes. They realize that the more havoc they wreak in each car, seeing the sentient creatures, which they have named Gnolls, in each car as basically NPCs, they commit intense atrocities towards these unconventional civilizations. They recruit and teach other passengers of the train that the numbers are supposed to go up. After being separated from the Apex cart after an act of casual terrorizing, Grace and Simon must travel together dozens of carts to find their way home. Along the way, they befriend a young girl named Hazel and her mother figure Tuba. The instigator for Grace's moral dilemma comes when it's revealed that Hazel is actually a Gnoll, her true form being a turtle from one of the carts the false conductor Amelia made in an attempt to recreate her life. Grace and Hazel had already grown such a strong bond that Grace initially doesn't hesitate to protect Hazel. However, things get very complicated when Simon finds out that she had been withholding that information and basically lying to him, having been traumatized by a Gnoll that he befriended abandoning him. His true reason for hating Gnolls is revealed. And while Grace goes towards the light, Simon goes towards the dark really fast. Book 4, Duet, is entirely focused on characters that we had not met or been introduced to in past seasons. In fact, it takes on the more traditional form of storytelling that was similar to how Tulip's story started, at home, in the real world, establishing the real-life real-life problems that the characters are dealing with. Main characters Mingy and Ryan both enter the Infinity Train together. I would also like to note that the two characters were born in the 1960s, and the time in which they are on the Infinity Train would be 1985. The two of them, having first met as babies in neighboring incubators, had always been best friends who shared the dream of being a successful musical duo. But when Mingy decides to take a more traditional route of university, they split up, leaving Ryan to follow their dreams alone. After having been split up and following different paths of life for many years, they are reconnected, and that's when they are thrown onto the train. They immediately befriend Kaz, a talking bell that proves to be very problematic but also incredibly loyal and pure intentioned. They must figure out how to learn lessons about themselves together, their character flaws quickly becoming obvious. Despite fighting so much and having to work through their problems, they refuse to get off the train without the other one and both reject their doors, waiting for the other's number to reach 0. They must also avoid all of Kaz's enemies and figure out what her intentions are with them as well. The most impactful moment is not with the main characters themselves. Infinity Train was created by the regular show writer and storyboard artist Owen Dennis. In creating this series, he sort of worked backwards. So in knowing that every story at its very core starts with a main character who basically is forced to learn something about themselves or change in some way, why not make a physical manifestation of that in the form of an inescapable train where you literally must solve your problems that are attributed to a literal number in order for you to return home. In Dennis's words, you are forced to face life or you die. While season 1 really focuses on the singular struggle of Tulip, we do get some slight world building and a look into the other conflicts that are going on. But season 2 and 3 are where things really start getting a bit more interesting in the scope of the world, and the concept of this train is really picked apart. We get to explore so many different stories, and the inner workings of the train and the consequences of making people work through their problems is really all laid out on the table. This is where I feel the best and most unique writing and storytelling is used. I think season 1 is incredibly important as it establishes the universe and sets the tone for what's to come, and it does it really well. Because there was this established place for characters to work out their problems and develop, Dennis only after started thinking about the characters that would benefit from being put in this world. From there, he built the characters of Tulip, MT, Grace, Mingy, and Ryan. For Tulip specifically, he was inspired by two women who visited Cartoon Network as Google programming representatives and gave a talk. When they were talking about their experiences and their feelings, he immediately reflected that onto Tulip's character as a female programmer, on the train as a new experience. Visually, he was influenced by The Matrix and other things like Star Wars, Starship Troopers, and Jurassic Park. He was also influenced by The Mysterious Stranger, a segment from the 1985 film The Adventures of Mark Twain. There was also more heavy inspiration from Over the Garden Wall. This is evident in not only its similar brief runtimes, but also in the world building or within the interesting and strange characters. The series has a very approachable layout with only 10 episodes a season, each episode being around 10 to 11 minutes. You can watch it in the way that Dennis would recommend it, which is 2 segments a night for 5 nights as a season, similar to how Cartoon Network screened Over the Garden Wall. Or you could do what I did and finish it in like 7.5 hours. I have no self-control, whether that be binge watching a show or eating McDonald's. The intro music itself has a heavy synth and hair-raising mysterious sound. The music of the series was made by Chrome Canyon, who had experienced scoring in the past and had made an album named Elemental Themes that Dennis loved through and through. Dennis reached out and Chrome Canyon agreed to compose the score for the series. They both were on the same wavelength, and he took Dennis's request of a general mood of creepy adventure horror synth. He referenced Neverending Story, It Follows, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Mysterious Stranger, Blade Runner, Mist, Majora's Mask, Dune, and more. Although the original soundtrack has not been released, Dennis answered that it was not up to him to release it, but he did make and post a playlist of the songs that inspired the music for the series, found at his Spotify account named Oween Dennis. The Infinity Train original 8-minute pilot episode premiered on Cartoon Network November 1st, 2016, and the reception was electric. Everyone was demanding more, kicking off with a premiere date of August 5th, 2019. Season 1 and 2 were both aired on Cartoon Network. After this, the series instead premiered on HBO Max for releases over the course of 3 weeks of Season 3 and a large all-at-once drop for Season 4. Dennis actually revealed in a tweet that the plan all along was to air the series on HBO Max, but because of delays in the streaming service's launch date, the first 2 were aired on Cartoon Network instead. I'd love to get another season of this series, and that seems to be the general consensus with fans on the internet. Dennis built his own goldmine with Infinity Train. He literally set up infinite stories to tell and infinite places to explore. He has actually revealed that there were lots of plans for the future of Infinity Train. They wrote a movie that was supposed to be a season 5, but it was passed on by HBO Max because they believed it wouldn't have a child entry point. He also would have loved to fully dive into the story of Amelia and Hazel. The two of them would provide such an interesting relationship, as Hazel is Amelia's creation that was born from her grief. Hazel also is very confused and alone, not knowing anything about who she is and how she was created. And just in general, she is a small child and Amelia is a lonely adult, trying to right all of her wrongs that she has done. It would have happened in a few seasons, Dennis said. He also mentions that they wrote a movie about Amelia's rise to power, which also would have been interesting to see, and most likely is the season 5 movie that he referenced in a separate interview. But if it's not, hey, I'll never complain about more content. There were also thoughts about future books 5, 6, 7, and 8, which would have covered themes of grief, guilt, revenge, acceptance, and even Alzheimer's. In addition to a Christmas special that they had plans for making, there was also a little development into creating a game. Not just a Flash Player Cartoon Network game, but a VR Infinity Train experience where you could hang out and solve puzzles in Corginia. Only 10 people were able to play this game, however, but I would have loved to be able to experience it. But as Dennis reiterates, many shows come back after cancellation. Just because it's not what Cartoon Network is looking to make at the moment doesn't mean there's not a future for this series. There was actually an art exhibition in Los Angeles' Gallery Nucleus that exhibited art by the crew, exclusive Infinity Train merchandise, and even a panel with Dennis himself. So go ahead and show support to the series where you can, because this series is beautiful and could tell some more amazing stories in the future if networks see how much people care about this show. Did Infinity Train ever draw you in with its unique world and characters? Which season or book was your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Later.